Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, I'd like to begin by explaining to you the genesis of my animus towards Joe Otis Deters. Joe Deters and I were once political allies. We were once close personal friends. Joe Deters was hired by me to help us in the Durrani litigation. I paid Joe Deters a lot of money. And Joe Deters turned out to be a double agent fraud. All the time he's supposed to be helping us, he's chumming up with Dinsmore and Scholl, legal counsel for Children's, Durrani, Christ, Westchester. Let me tell you something that was the straw that broke the camel's back with Joe. The straw that broke the camel's back with Joe is after there was a settlement, which is confidential, with Children's and Westchester, we had to deal with what's called health care liens. Joe brags about how close he is to Mike DeWine and Yost. So I asked repeatedly, went to his home, talked to him on the phone, sent him text messages, repeatedly said, Joe, will you just get us the name and contact information of the person that we can talk to in Ohio to discuss these Medicaid lien issues? Nothing wrong with it. It's why we hired the guy. Wouldn't lift a finger. Wouldn't lift a finger to help us help these people. Our team. So ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, when you wonder why I hate Joe Deters, it's with good reason. And I also hate his sidekick, Willie. Willie and I were once very, very close. Remember, I was his backup for 4 years, close personal friend. Helped him get out of his big losing restaurant in Independence by taking it over myself. Giving him $50,000 for a tax problem. I did nothing but, filled him in what was going on when he was thinking about leaving the station and I was going to be the guy to replace him. I chose my friendship over him to loyalty to Clear Channel. I have found out that Willie, while acting as my friend, was nothing but a blocker of me at the station. Not only that, the straw that broke the camel's back with him is when I couldn't support Joe Deters, well, then he couldn't be my friend anymore. Think about that. If that's his standard, well, screw you, Willie. And I hit pretty hard November 19th when I brought up the following. Greg Hartman had to leave the county commission seat because he was fooling around with a Hamilton County worker, and his wife gave him an ultimatum, and the lover's name and number was programmed in Greg Hartman's phone as Joe Deters. By the way, I got all this from Joe. Joe also reported that Alex Tilafanto was sexually harassing and now he's a married man, trying to hook up with, I'm going to name her name, because she was involved in the Durrani litigation, Melissa Corfage. I'm calling on George Vincent, managing partner of Dinsmore and Scholl, to launch an investigation of Alex Tilafanto's sexual harassment of Melissa Corfage and other women at Dinsmore and Scholl. This is a Me Too generation, right? And you know what? Joe's told me all kinds of things. I'm not firing all my cannons yet. Some of the things I'm holding for good reason. But the time might come when I can even share those. But by the way, here's a few I'm going to share today. Joe bragged Melissa Powers was a conquest. That Megan Shanahan was a conquest. By the way, all while he was married. Judge Kubicki, he said, would do anything he asked him to do. Who banned me from the Hamilton County Courthouse after I had my falling out for Joe by claiming I threatened to burn down the courthouse? Itty bitty Chuck Kubicki. I'll bet you little itty bitty Chuck Kubicki, Pat Dingelacker, Russell Mock end up just like Judge Martin when he lost. Employees of the Hamilton County office. By the way, Joe, Bulldog report is coming. I'm going to hit Joe Deters' office with subpoenas, with lawsuits, with open records requests. I'm going to hit him 6 ways to Tuesday. It's coming, Joe. Then you had his brother Buzz. It's my understanding his brother Buzz, who was Russell Mock's law clerk, who, by the way, Joe promised us the world with Russell Mock. That's right, Russell. Joe said he owns you. And he really appreciates you gave his son Patrick your golf clubs. But you know what? Buzz apparently has some kind of contract with the county for an electric gas business. I think that ought to be investigated and will with some open records requests. Boy, do I have some stories about Joe's mother-in-law and Joe. I'm holding those. The Stan Chesley stories, wow. I'm holding those for now, too. I got to say this. You would not, they've actually had an alcohol intervention, Joe's friends. That's how bad Joe's alcoholism is. They've tried to have an intervention for him. Willie tells me that Joe was getting drunk, cops were letting him go, public sex, cotton alleyways. You wouldn't believe the stories old Willie told me about Joe. Yep, Joe, I'm sorry, Willie told me those stories. But let's talk about Willie. First, Willie's wife, Penny Cunningham, who I have no issues with, but let's face it, she needed a public job, didn't she? Yep. She became a domestic relations judge, then a court of appeals judge. Now she gets a pension off that state pension. His son was becoming an appraiser to work for the county as an appraiser. I don't know if that happened or not, but do all these people have to suck off the county tax dollars? Can't any of them get regular jobs? And then last but not least, and they got to eat at the public trough. They're not public servants. It's eating at the public trough. I would say Penny Cunningham was a public servant, but these are eat at the public trough. Last but not least, and there's some of you that are going to say, oh, Bulldog, that's going too far. But you know what? I find irony in this. And I think I could pull this off by talking delicately about somebody who's dead, at the same time making my point. Do you know where Willie practiced law? At Steve Adams' office. Why? Because Steve used Willie with all of his connections with Joe to help him out on the plea deals. Remember, who did Alex T. LaFontaine go to? Who did Pac-Man hire? Alex T. Why does everybody always hire Croswell? Well, because Joe vacations at Croswell's place, and Joe employs Croswell at the office, his son. I mean, it's Joe, when I get done with you think Jim McNair's article was bad? Ha! The Bulldog Report's story is going to be even better. But I want to tell you something. Steve Adams. First off, I want to tell you something. I'm sorry he was killed. Sad. Wife, children, it's all bad. Don't wish death on Steve Adams. But I'm not a phony. I never cared for Steve Adams. Steve Adams overcharged people for DUIs and then plead them guilty. Or take them to trial, just charge them more money. It was a racket. But who was Willie's guest every holiday? It was Steve Adams. So here's Willie working at Clear Channel. By the way, Willie, Clear Channel is going to get a nice little report from me. Here's Willie working at Clear Channel, having Steve Adams, his law partner, promoting Steve Adams as a lawyer. Now this is where I'm going to have a little bit of fun. Sorry, but I am. What was Steve Adams' big freaking message to all of you? By the way, a message that I publicly attacked. I publicly said that you are a fool to refuse if you're not drunk. And you know if you've been drinking or you're drunk, you know. What did he always say? Don't talk to the po-po. Never talk to the po-po. Isn't it irony that the person who allegedly struck Steve Adams fled the scene and there's been an arrest? I wonder if he's talking to the po-po. Because if he listens to Willie's and Steve Adams' advice, the person who killed him won't be talking to the po-po, because if he doesn't talk to the po-po, they might not know whether he was intoxicated or not when he struck him, if he is in fact the person who did. Isn't that irony? And I wonder what the police think. This guy, don't talk to the po-po. Irony, isn't it? Again, sorry that he died, but I'm not going to be a phony and canonize somebody I never liked. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Bill Cunningham cares nothing about anybody but himself. Joe Deters is a political whore, eating at the trough, and you, Hamilton County, just reelected him. They're despicable human beings. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. I hope you have a great day.